Hey, welcome to today's episode. We're here with Genesis. I'm excited to have this episode. I was on her podcast last week, and we're having her on our podcast this week. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How'd you end up here? Because I know you're from the corporate world, so we're going to talk about that. But let's talk about how you became an entrepreneurship and how you became a podcaster, all that good stuff.
Okay, hey everyone. My name is Genesis Amaris Kemp. I am a visionary life coach, motivational speaker, also the podcast founder and host of my own show, Gems Podcast. And then I'm an author too. So I have 2 books on the market and 3 book collaborations, and another one about to drop in second quarter. How I got to where I was definitely via a layoff, being forced out of my comfort zone because I got so complacent. My background is oil and gas and energy. I spent 12 years in the industry, 15 years in corporate America as a whole. And I was just comfortable. I enjoyed, the bells and the whistles until I didn't. Meaning, when I found out that I was the only person of color and my pay was significantly lower than my peers, it started ruffling feathers and it didn't sit right with me mentally or physically. I started to let my mental factors become outward factors, and I just wasn't happy overall. But sometimes it's like things happen to you in your life, but they also happen for you to grow. So if I would have never, been laid off from this Fortune 500 oil and gas company, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you today, or it probably would have taken me a lot longer to get here on this journey.
No, I think um, sometimes bad situations are good circumstances that make you like rethink and readjust. And I feel like that's what happened with you. I really want to talk about a lot of the corporate world. So a lot of people get complacent in the corporate world where they don't want to leave because they get comfortable. What was like the struggle of like switching over from a corporate world to becoming an entrepreneur and doing all these great things with your books? I think it's amazing.
So one, I had a corporate credit card, which was nice because I could take my clients to lunch or dinner, and then I get a dinner out of that because I'm entertaining. There was different perks that I had because my company was well known, so branded by association. So you get different gifts and knickknacks. Sometimes they'll give you rodeo tickets or concert tickets or whatnot. I also had the ability to have different partnerships where you get a discount on your cell phone bill and other things like that. And it was nice. Then, one of the sweet things as I climbed the corporate ladder, I had a limo that would come to my house, a limo service that would pick me up, take me to the airport so I could fly out for business meetings, got to stay in really nice hotels and have really fancy dinners. And that was really cool. But whenever you go into entrepreneurship, it's your money and you have to be a good steward of your finances so you don't go broke, and you really know the amount of money that you're making. You have to set aside money for taxes if you need to pay taxes. What is your profit loss and your gains and all of that stuff? And people don't always tell you about that in entrepreneurship because they're like, "Ooh, I'm my own boss." But then there's also people who support your business that you have to answer to, even though you're your own boss, because you want to make sure you have those repetitive clients coming to you. And whenever you are the face of the company, you have to be very meticulous on what you put out on the in the media. What is your online presence, and is that tied to your core values and your mission?
Yeah, that's when you're not sure, everything's all on you. There's no hey, I need help. I mean, you can always ask for help, but it's a lot of the pressure's all on you, and you gotta face it head on and realize that you might not have insurance. You got to pay the gas and electric bill. You still got to pay the car note, and all that stuff is all on you. It's no longer. I would honestly like. I've never had that cool of a job where I've got all those corporate benefits, but it would probably be hard for me to leave too. I understand. I understand. It gets they the corporate world, they make the proverbial carrot as far as to keep you going a lot nicer, and they give you a lot more benefits, and it's just like I still gotta go and do this for my own. So we've had a lot of entrepreneurs recently quit their job that are using some of my clients, and it's kind of cool seeing them like transition because they had really good paying jobs too, and it's kind of like, yeah, I could do more for myself if I just take that leap of faith, you know. So it's kind of cool seeing a lot of people do that, and it's harder for some people, and most people can't even grasp that they can do better for themselves by themselves, you know.
Yeah, very true. And I guess knowing your worth is very key whenever you're an entrepreneur. Don't settle for less or lessen yourself and the products and services that you offer because someone can't afford you right then and there. If they can't afford you, set up a payment plan, but don't, lessen the value of what you have to offer because if you keep devaluing yourself, who is going to value you?
Yeah, that's it. Who's gonna value? So let's talk about the I didn't we first time we spoke, I know we kind of brushed on it, but I really want to hit on it now. You said in the beginning that you were underpaid more than your peers. Um, that it hurts me whenever I hear that because I know a lot of people struggle with um a lot of corporations, they underpay minorities, underpay uh, females and women, and I'm just like, oh, why do you do this to yourself? Like you're asking for a problem and an issue, and you're not really valuing the people that you actually bring in an employee, and it always bites back in the future. So how long did you work there before you realized that was an issue in your company?
So I worked for that company for a total of 7.5 years up until the layoff. And I realized that was an issue year three. And I was constantly trying to advocate for myself to get the correction on my pay. And then every time I got, up to a good point, that manager would leave. So then a new manager would come. So I would have to start all the way over. But the tip of the iceberg was during the whole Black Lives Matter movement whenever the vice president of supply chain, I was working in a global supply chain organization at the time, called a meeting with those of us who identified as Blacks or African Americans or minorities. And when I saw the number that was in the room, it was shocking, especially working for a global organization. And then he started to ask people to share their stories with either personal or professional racism. And I was like, ooh, this could go one or two ways. You could either put your stuff out there and hang yourself to dry, or you could kind of sit back and let somebody else go because you never want to back yourself in a corner, especially when you're working for certain types of companies. So different people started, volunteering to speak. And then he called on me. And by that point, I was like, no ham, no cheese, no turkey. I had it. So I literally told him, I said, okay, I have a problem. I started with this company in 2013 as an administrative assistant. I quickly grew my career from an administrative assistant to a raw material coordinator to trade regulations and compliance coordination to working my way up into those professional roles. Yet you still have me ranked with the other administrative assistants, even though I'm not doing that work. And then another thing I have a problem with is whenever people expect you to be the spokesperson for your entire race, even though I am African American, melanated, I am first generation American. My dad was South American and my mom is Caribbean. I can't be the spokesperson for every Black person because I don't know what they're going through, but I could tell you what I'm going through. Then on a personal side, I do have a problem whenever I go to the grocery stores and if I have my sister's kids who are biracial, they're half white, half Black, people have came up to me and asked me, whose kids are those? Why would I just steal some kids, first of all? Or if I have my brother's kids, his kids are half Black, half Indian. And people just look at you, people follow you around, they want to take pictures because I live in an area that is predominantly Caucasians and there's a handful of Hispanics, there's a handful of Blacks, but it's predominantly Caucasians. And I feel like it's a problem whenever people can't realize that the world is shifting and changing, and there's different races that are intersecting, and you can't help who you fall in love with. But ignorance is bliss. If you are looking at me and judging me without even getting to know me, then that's on you, and I can't help fix a you problem. But what I can do is tell you my story, and we could work together to create a solution. And the big bomb dropper was whenever my supervisor's boss put up on the screen the different salary levels. And when I saw that my salary level was not on the screen, that's when I was like, red alert, a huge red flag, because I saw that the position started at a CL level 22 and higher, and CL means classification level. And at that time, I was a classification level 15. So I quickly screenshot the hell out of that sucker, and I had it for evidence. And I went in there and I said, where do I fit into this schematic? Here I am doing this work, traveling for the company, representing the company in front of C suite executives and other buy in leaders, but yet I don't even have the respect that I deserve or respect on my check. I kid you not, when I laid it all out on the table in the vice president's meeting, 1 week later, I get a phone call from my boss telling me, "Oh, well, you know what? We're gonna bump your CL level from a 15 to a 22, and effective this date, you're gonna get a $20,000 salary increase." Now let that marinate.
That's crazy. Wow. So they were underpaying you for a very long time. Very long time. That's
Yes.
crazy. So you're advocating for people like this as well right now. Is this kind of what your books are about? That you're advocating for people that are underpaid and unappreciated in their corporations?
Yeah, so the title of my book is called Chocolate Drop in Corporate America. And I wrote the book to really talk about how you could take ownership of your career. So navigating your career in a industry where it's not conducive, knowing the power of your voice, breaking down those limitations and rising above the barriers and really standing your ground. But also while you're standing your ground, make sure you have the facts, make sure you have black and white concrete data, and make sure that you really do your research. So whenever you do go up and engage in those difficult or courageous conversations, you have a leg to stand on and you're not going in there blindsided. And then do you have a sponsor that will vouch for you? So that's like a manager. They could be an executive, they could be a senior or mid-level. Do they know about your work history and your work ethics? Do you have a sponsor? And how can that person stand up for you when you may not be fortunate to go into rooms like that?
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel a lot. It's a very lonely space to stand up to the boss, you know. And I commend you for doing it for yourself, and I commend you for doing it for others as well through your books and inspiring people to take a stand and not take it because it's not healthy. It's not healthy for your mental health and for your just your well-being as a whole because corporations there I'm not a big I understand why corporations are the way they are, but it's just nothing can excuse their behavior in certain instances and why they do the things they do, you know. It's crazy to me.
Absolutely. And one thing that I could say, since the book has came out, it has encouraged other people to come forward and share their stories. Like one guy that I met, he talked about how he faced something similar with the US government. And it was so bad that he challenged the Board of Education, and he also went up against, his government contracting agency that he was working for. And he was a single father at the time with his daughter, and former President Obama got involved in their story. They shut down some of the boards of education, like the people had to give them an apology. Him and his daughter had to like move states and change schools and etc. And he's like, if I would have never read your book Chocolate Drop in Corporate America, From the Pit to the Palace, it wouldn't have given me the courage to write my book. So his book is called The Unexpected Journey, Fire and Gold by Dietrich L. Moon. And then there have been white males as well as white females who have read my book, and they talked about, certain discrepancies and forms of microaggressions that they face as a non-colored person. And I was like, wow. So you get to see how this book is opening up the conversation between different races and between different industries.
That's amazing. It's amazing what you can do just by telling your story and the power of your story and how it resonates with different audiences. And you never really know how your story is going to resonate unless you do it. So I commend you for even, man, just putting it out there. A lot of people struggle with doing, and you're actually making a change and making a difference in people's lives today and even now in the future. So you don't even know the aspect of change you're imparting upon people nowadays, and into the future. It's a big step. So so 2 books out. Are you working on any other current or upcoming books right now besides the publication where you're putting the group publication up?
Just the book collaboration that I'm working on with another author by the name of Chad Smith. I'm kind of focusing on podcasting and some of the media speaking engagements and etc. And then once I decide on what I want to do next, book wise, I will let you all know. I think I have an idea where I want to talk about the power of being a patient advocate and dealing with medical negligence, since I lost my dad in 2020 due to that. So I'm just really trying to pray about it there and see what to do next.
Okay, that's awesome. Let's talk about your podcast. So your podcast, I hopped on your podcast last week. One thing I respected about you is that you've haven't taken it lightly. So what's your podcast called? Where can people find it? What type of guests do you have on your podcast, and kind of little promo for your podcast here?
So my podcast is called Gems Podcast with Genesis Amaris Kemp. The reason why I named it Gems is because I believe that each one of us has an incredible gem to share, whether it is from our personal stories that we endured, or maybe it's life lessons that have came out of ugly places, whether we were tested, but that test produced a testimony, or we went through a hell of a mess, but that mess is now the message that we bring forward to the world. The core pillars are to educate, inspire, and motivate, while bridging and connecting the dots between diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And the reason why that is so important is because it takes all of us linking arms to make this world a better place. The guests that I have on are male and female from various walks of life, as long as they meet the core pillars, which is they're either educating the audience, they're sharing something inspirational or something motivational, and there's good chemistry there, then I welcome them to be on the guest, because I don't know everything and I want to be in the hot seat and learn from some incredible trailblazers that are out there. I started the podcast in November of 2020, the same month that my father passed, because it was the way that I was able to deal with grief, to be honest, because I got so tired of trying to express myself to people and they're like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. Your dad is in a better place. The Lord give it and the Lord take it away. Or some of the cliche sayings. And I'm like, you don't really know how I feel because both of your parents are living. So talk to me when you lose a parent. But then my mother said that was rude. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do solo episodes where I talk into the mic. And I did that. And that led other people reaching out because they appreciate the rawness and the vulnerability. And they're like, hey, I would love to collaborate and be a guest on your podcast. And that's when the doors open up for me to start interviewing people. But prior to that, people didn't know that I was guest appearing on other people's podcasts. And then I was also a podcast host for 3 different CEOs. And the podcast can be found on 20 plus different platforms, such as Apple, Spotify, Google, Samsung, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Pandora, ...
The list gets ever long, once you get out there. But I appreciate I appreciate your story. I appreciate what you're doing for the community and what you're doing for the world. It's not to be taken lightly, and your story as a whole is just, I hope it inspires people and hope it inspires other entrepreneurs. So let's kind of jump into, I know we got a couple minutes we have to go, but let's kind of talk into your entrepreneurship journey. You've been out of corporate America for like 2 years now, and now you're doing solar. You're doing what other things are you doing right now? I know you're doing solar is your new endeavor right now.
Yeah, so I've been out for a year. February this year marked 1 year. I am doing solars because I believe that sustainability is the path forward plan. It took me a while to get there, y'all, because like I said, I came from oil and gas and energy. We're not trying to talk about solar. We want to keep the money in house. And I'm also doing health and wellness because I truly believe in order to really enjoy your wealth, you need to be healthy. And what good is it going to do if you're lying up in a hospital bed and you have millions of dollars, but you can't enjoy it because you're sick and you didn't take time to nurture your body, mind, body, and soul? So I partner with a brand called Kiani. I really believe in having that physical activity and making sure we are eating nutrient whole foods because we only have one body. Our body is our temple. If you put in junk, don't expect to get an optimal result out. If you put in healthy and nutritious food, then you're going to have that energy. You're not going to feel sluggish. You're not going to feel like you need to take a nap or have those brain fogs or other ailments that are going on. Just be mindful that we only have one life to live. We only have one body. So why not treat your body as good as you treat your car? You take your car for details, you take your car for 32-point inspections and all of this stuff. Why can't you take that inventory of your life and your body?
Yeah, it's I've I've recently taken my health a little bit more seriously, so I've been exercising a lot more, and I've it's been new for me because like I haven't done that in a long time. But like I turned 30 this year, so I'm like, okay, I need to some things need to change, and I need to take better care of myself. So I am taking it personally. So I appreciate that as well. But I think a lot of people, they underestimate the the power of life and living, you know, and living comfortably as far as time wise, and living comfortably as far as health wise too. You know, there's a lot of benefits that come to that you don't really see, but you feel it.
Absolutely. And I guess one of the tips that I would share, because some people hate working out. And if
Sure.
you are one of those people who hate going to the gym, then find out what activities you actually love. If you like to rollerblade, use rollerblade for your physical activity. You like to skateboard, do that. You like to walk, run, or jog. Build that into your daily routine. If you have kids, try to find an outdoor activity that your kids love to do and do it with your kids because they're getting out and moving and you're moving with them. So you could really co-collaborate and enjoy that special time bonding with your children while you're getting in physical activity. And that makes it a lot easier. And then if you have a busy schedule, one thing that worked for me when I was working in corporate is meal prepping. You could prep one meal for 3 days in a row, and then in the middle of the week, Wednesday, prep something else so you could have for the remainder of the week so you don't get bored eating the same thing. Or I recently had a guest on that talked about batch cooking. He says he cooks like a whole barbecue pit of chicken. I think they were chicken thighs or chicken breasts. I can't remember right now. And then he makes different recipes. So one night he'll do tacos, one night he'll do tiki masala, and another night he'll do something else. And it'll take about 10 minutes to prepare the next meal because he already spent the work batch cooking that chicken. So find out different strategies that work for your lifestyle, but don't alter your lifestyle because you feel like, oh, it's a chore. I have to do that, because then you're not going to enjoy it. And over time, you're going to hit burnout, and then you're not just going to fall off the bandwagon and not do it.
Yeah. I No one told me this, but I kind of did that. So like I hate doing exercise. So I'm like, I enjoy swimming, so that's what I'm doing. I swim. So it's one of those things where like I can work it in because I already enjoy swimming. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll swim just to start getting it going. So a lot of people, like some people like, I was with one of my clients yesterday. He's like, I'm gonna go run a mile. I'm like, okay, go run a mile. I'm gonna go swim here. You know, and it's different. As long as you get the exercise in, it all helps no matter what you're doing, and do it consistently, you know.
Yes, consistency is key. And I love that you're doing swimming because it is actually a full body workout. But for some women who are pregnant, like they encourage you not to do certain things, like so biking, unless you're doing a stationary bike, swimming, because different positions. So just be mindful. And if you're having some health concerns, talk to your provider about it. But when you talk to your provider, it should be done in partnerships because it's not an end all be all. It's like, here's something that I want to try. What do you think? Or what do you suggest? And you decide it together because sometimes people go into their physicians and they think, oh, my physician said this, and that's the only thing. No, it's not the only thing. Have a conversation, learn, and voice your opinion just as much as they're voicing their opinion.
Yeah, it's a two-way relationship, and definitely seek more than one counselor, you know, get advice from many counselors if you have the ability to, because not all counsel is good, but you might want to hear different opinions based on different facts. And definitely seek counsel. I like we do that for our current businesses, that we seek advice from many counselors because they usually experience stuff differently than we ever have, and they'll protect us from stuff that we might not see in the future. So we have business counselors, we have health counselors, we have mindset counselors. So make sure you seek advice from any counselors, that we are a well-rounded human being, you know, in all facets. So where can people find you online? I know we covered the podcast. Where can people find you online? If they want to hop on the podcast, how can they do that? I appreciate you coming on.
You can find me by going to my website, which is beacons, beacons.ai / my name. So it's Genesis, GENESIS, middle name Amaris, AMARIS, Kemp, KEMP. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as Genesis Amaris Kemp, and Twitter at Genesis A Kemp. But if you want all your information in one spot, go to my website and everything will be there. Book info, I'm giving away the first chapter of my book for free, and I'm also giving away two health and wellness products for free. One is a health assessment, and then one is a superfood pack that you could take on the go. It'll boost your energy better than that 5-hour energy crap or something that will get you high but make you crash.
There you go. There you go. Please check that out. We appreciate you coming on, Genesis. I got one more question. I like asking this question. What is a quote that you resonate with, whether it's yours or somebody else's?
Woo! So one quote that sticks to me right now is a quote by Babe Ruth that says, never let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. Fear is a mindset, y'all, but don't let fear condition you from really taking that leap of faith and rising up to the level that you desire. So be who you want to be, not what the world wants you to be. Because if you don't know who you are, then you're going to fall victim to what other people tell you you are.
And with that, we'll end it right here. We appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.